Discover South Korea, Day 5. If you are at all interested in a tour or some kind of school trip to South Korea, or just to go there on your own, this video series might be for you. I'm Mike Dalton, and this is Dalton's Detours. So on day 5 of the trip, we had to check out of our hotel, again, another phenomenal breakfast at the Commodore Hotel, and catch a train. But we were going to catch the bullet train at Gyeongju Station. It didn't take us long to get from the hotel to the train station, and the Gyeongju Station was really quiet, extremely nice and clean and organized, and we grabbed a coffee while we waited. The trip, as per usual on every bullet train I've had in Asia so far, was on time, it was seamless, and it was really pleasant. When we arrived in Seoul, it was nearing lunchtime, and we had on our itinerary for the day a Korean cooking class. I have to say, on an EF tourist trip, and I've been on probably over 20, I don't think we've ever had a cooking class. It was also a bonus that it was at lunch, which means that, in a sense, our lunch was paid for on this because normally we pay for our own lunches. And when we first got there, I was a little concerned that the cooking class was going to be, it was a little crowded. There was 42 of us. There's a man standing at the front, and he is getting translated by our tour guide. But once we kind of, looked at the materials that were in English and he started doing demonstrations, we were able to cook our own bulgogi. This was a great experience. I've done cooking classes before. They're usually smaller settings. So when you do something on your own or with, a group of 10, it's a little bit different. But considering the size of it, how into it the kids were, the fact that we got food with it, it was just something really, really different. And so we weren't there very long, maybe a little over an hour. And it was a highly recommended experience. And I am a firm believer in, at least when you go to a new city, you do maybe a food tour or a cooking class. Those are just kind of fun, interactive ways, especially as a solo traveler. For a school group like this, to have that many people in there, I definitely think EF should do more of these. So I really, really enjoyed it. Once we ate a little bit of lunch, we jumped on our new bus, because we now have a new bus driver and a new bus that's going to take us around the next 3 days of Seoul. And we headed to the Korean War Memorial and Museum. I think as American tourists going to Seoul and going to South Korea, that something revolving around the Korean War makes sense. There is an excursion that goes to the DMZ, but that is an extra cost. The memorial itself, I thought was a good idea, obviously, for us to go. I didn't really have many expectations. I had not read much about it. When we got there, we were given a map of the place and given an hour and a half or 2 hours to kind of wander around. The outside of the facility when you enter is pretty spectacular. The building is very sizable and somewhat interactive. There are a lot of, it kind of walks you through the story of the Korean War. They have a memorial area. They have a 4D, I couldn't really video in there, but they had a 4D kind of interactive film about the locals during the Korean War, about the refugees. And so I thought overall it was a fairly, impressive museum. It was way bigger than I thought it would be. When they told us the amount of time we had, I didn't know if we'd have enough time to fill, but just walking around on the inside, kind of seeing all the things they had on the outside. Again, I think as an American educational tour group goes, or just any American that goes to Seoul, I think a visit to that war museum and memorial is kind of a must-do on a South Korea trip. Before heading to dinner, we stopped off at the Bukchon Hanok village. This is kind of an old district, kind of the original buildings in Seoul. It's kind of up, you kind of walk up a hill, and it's very beautiful. I liken it to some of the things I saw in Japan when I was on the tour, which was the Fushimi Inari Shrine, which is 100% worth it. The Arashiyama Bamboo Forest, which is amazing. But both of those places get very, very crowded, and I would include the Hanok Village in this. I have no doubt if we'd have gone back at a different time, maybe a little bit earlier, a little bit later. If I go back on my own someday, I'll probably try to get there at a different time. But it was extremely crowded. Definitely worth it. Really beautiful buildings, just a lot of people. I am in a lot of Instagram photos from other people at this point. So it's definitely one of those attractions where maybe once you go once, you might not need to go back. For dinner that night, we headed to Myeongdong. Now, Myeongdong is famous for its street food, which we will see a little bit after dinner. We went for a traditional Korean fried chicken dinner. Very similar to Japan, which has a huge fried chicken culture. Korea has one as well. I'm assuming that this stems from U.S. influence during World War II and Korean War and things like that. Korean War specifically in Seoul. But it's definitely a different style of fried chicken. Different sauces, a different way they do it. I thought the most interesting thing, the fried chicken was amazing. I thought the most interesting thing was at one point they brought us out some really spicy fried chicken and they had a little salad and they put 2 scoops of vanilla ice cream on the salad, which I don't know. I wasn't hopeful. I love vanilla ice cream. It's actually my favorite. That's how boring is that? But it wasn't bad. It was different. It was different. You would kind of have the salad and the ice cream and then a piece of fried chicken. I'm not really sure how we were supposed to eat it, but again, vanilla ice cream and fried chicken, you really can't go wrong at that point. And it was a good dinner. It was solid. The kids enjoyed it. And then we got a little free time. And after dinner, we were kind of right there by the street food. We all took a little bit of that time to kind of wander up and down and try some of the street food, especially the desserts. We also knew we were coming back the next day, so we were kind of doing a little recon on what meals or what little snacks might we want to get the next day. I would highly suggest going to Myeongdong, check out the food scene, but definitely the street food. We tried a few desserts. They were really, really good. And of course, at that point, we had to get back to our hotel and check in. And just like going to Busan, coming back, we had a luggage service take all of our luggage for us. We checked it in the morning. It was all waiting for us when we arrived. Now, this is the hotel that we went to originally. This was our first hotel in Seoul, and now we're back to the same hotel now for 3 nights. Kind of nice because we kind of knew the layout of the convenience stores nearby and the elevators. And this was the hotel where rooms were great. Lobby was kind of small. There weren't that many elevators. Probably needed a few more with a lot of people. And the breakfast was okay, but it was just chaos. There were so many people. If you arrived 1 minute after it opened, I mean, it was just packed. But in the end, it worked out okay. It was a fairly eventful day 5. It was a good travel day. Everything went really, really well. The weather compared to the day before was amazing. So it was nice to get a chance to kind of get back to dry weather and very pleasant temperatures. And then we got the next couple of days in Seoul.